NFL rule changes for the 2023 season, including the Brock Purdy rule, and a lot of these that do affect the San Francisco 49ers. How about the Thursday Night Football flex? And have we seen the end of the NFL kickoff? All coming up on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you as always at BD Peacock at Eric_Crocker. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Shout out to the everydayers, of which Nick Winkler is one. Our guest on this Winky Wednesday episode.
Nicholas Winkler, come on down. Wow.
Can't believe it.
Wink, what's happening, my man? Welcome to the show. If you guys don't know Mr. Nicholas Winkler, if you're new to the program, he jumps on every Wednesday with our Winky Wednesday. He was my co-host on the Gold Faithful podcast that we did many years ago now, before I jumped on and started hosting Locked On 49ers daily, and my old radio colleague, former TV anchor as well. And as you just heard there, former game show extraordinaire, showcase showdowner, Mr. Nicholas Winkler. Thanks for jumping on again with us this week, Wink.
Yeah, don't forget about Wheel of Fortune too, man. I was on 2 game shows. I love them.
And you bicked it down bald for the which was ballsy for the to meet Pat Sajak and Vanna White there.
Yeah, that was the time when I didn't like hair. I was just like, I just it's too much to deal with. I got too much going on in my life.
Yeah,
take it all the way down.
You're young, you're trying to win some cash so you can afford to get a real haircut. So you're like, you know what? This is the best haircut I can do for myself right now is just shave it all off.
It was actually the first time I ever grew facial hair because I thought I looked too young. I was like, I gotta look more like a man going on this. I was like 20 years old. So I grew like this tiny little scrawny goatee. It was great.
Yeah, you had the little small 90s baseball goatee with the shaved head, kind of trying to make yourself a little more menacing.
Yeah, and it worked. I really did look tough and like an adult, I think, for the first time in my life.
Croc, when was the first time I want to talk about bald heads for a second here because Croc is now famously bald, although he wears a hat a lot. Croc, when was the first time you decided you pulled out the razor and said, it's all coming off? Because you had a lot of hair at that point, but did you shave it back in the day when you were younger?
So I've always pretty much had hair. I had like braids mostly throughout high school. I think I cut my braids off, and that was, Allen Iverson, like that was our guy growing up. And then Carmelo Anthony, he was my guy. So I had the braids all throughout high school. I think right before senior prom, I had cut my braids off. And then a year later, not even a year later, I'd say probably 6 months later, I started growing my hair back out and I started my dreads. They were extremely small. Then they grew really long, like down to my nipples pretty much. And the only reason, loves my dreads, the only reason I cut them was because I noticed I kept having to double and triple up dreads in the front, and then it still kept getting needle thin at the root. And I was like, dang, I looked at my brother, like, wow, he has this big bald head. I think it's my time. So I cut my hair off then, and you couldn't tell. I didn't want to look like Floyd Mayweather's dad. I don't know if y'all ever seen Floyd Mayweather's dad when he had the dreads, but the whole middle was missing. Wild, really wild. And I said, I'll never do that. So first sight of danger, I cut them off. It was really hard. But I did have hair for about, 4 more years or so, 5 more years. And then I shaved it. And then somehow I was able to grow it back. But the barber did a great job of kind of blending it so you couldn't tell I was going bald. And then once it got too hard to tell, to keep that up. And then, come on, the barber prices are ridiculous. We're talking about $40 per cut. I said, man, just take the razor to it. So I just cut it now, but I always have a hat on. So
I'm a bad groomer, and I can't keep up with going to the barber and getting my hair cut often enough. So yeah, I'm thankful that we can wear hats here on the podcast, and we don't have to go full TV mode with makeup and getting a haircut seemingly every other day. Some of these guys do. It's just that's a lot to take care of. I got too much to take care of in my life. I can barely handle. Going and getting a haircut once a week, that's more than I want to even attempt at this point in my life.
Well, that, and you mentioned all the new rules, right? This is May, guys, that we're talking about football. We're talking about the Brock Purdy rule, basically getting rid of kickoffs. You're flexing Thursdays. Brady is trying to buy the Raiders like part of them. You got to bury a Super Bowl coming. And OTAs, like, this is a wild time right now. You don't have time for a haircut.
No, you don't have time for a haircut because the NFL never sleeps. That's why we come at you every single day right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Let's start with the Brock Purdy rule. According to a vote by the owners, and that was passed, an NFL bylaw now allowing a third quarterback to be active on the roster without burning a roster spot has been approved. So you dress 46 on game day, and now you get a 47th that can be that emergency quarterback for a third quarterback. So one thing I love about the rules, it allows teams probably to have an extra quarterback that they can develop on their roster, and they don't have to worry about, waiving a guy and losing him to waivers. And a lot of teams might keep a third instead of having those types of players on the practice squad. So maybe that helps them develop a young quarterback. In the 49ers case, I think they were going to keep 3 no matter what. So that just buys them a complete extra, player to dress on game days. But what's funny about it, guys, is that the rule wouldn't have helped the 49ers because they didn't have any more quarterbacks anyway. They were already on QB4. It's like they didn't have – Jacob Eason was cut, I think, in January. He was kind of on the roster after the Garoppolo injury. Would they have, if this rule existed, would they have kept another guy? Would it have made a difference? Would they have won the NFC Championship game? No, I don't think so. So it's funny because the Brock Purdy rule really, I don't think would have helped the 49ers.
Well, I think that's the interesting part with it, right? Just the 49ers dynamic. But I think overall, just in general, if a team started that game with Trey Lance as a quarterback, he gets knocked out. Jimmy Garoppolo comes in, who's your backup. Oh, man, like all of a sudden he gets knocked out the game. Okay, well, we got this guy, Brock Purdy, who nobody knows about. Oh, man, he's Mr. Irrelevant. He's amazing. They go to the Super Bowl and win. So I think the 49ers, with their injuries at the quarterback position, they got to figure out how to fix that some way, somehow, because it's happening at a much alarming rate than the rest of the NFL. But I just think in general, just being prepared for that situation, which I want to say back in the day, that was the case. You could dress that emergency quarterback.
Yeah.
And I don't think it counted against your active roster days. Now, there are rules to this. So your third quarterback has to be on your 53-man roster.
Yes, no practice.
It's not
squad,
like,
right?
you can have him on a practice squad and then, it's game day. We can bring you up to active roster for this game and then put you back to practice squad. You can't do that. But in the 49ers situation right now, having a Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, and Sam Darnold, all 3 can dress up and it won't hurt you.
Right. Yeah.
So
it saves you
rule.
a spot.
Right.
Yeah. That 46th, 47th man to dress. So you get an extra spot there because the Niners probably would have kept 3 with their PTSD at quarterback.
And it's a real thing, right? I mean, it's a smart rule going forward because it protects your product, right? That NFC Championship game was hard to watch. I'm sure a lot of viewers tuned out. They're like, oh, Niners don't have a quarterback. All right, I'm going to go ahead and change the channel, Going forward, it's rare. It's probably not going to happen very often, but you want to put something good out on the field. You want people to stay tuned. You want to keep selling, your car, beer ads and your, medication ads and, all these ads that come on every couple of minutes there during a football game. If people are checking out because there's no quarterback on the team, then you're losing money as the NFL. So it just makes perfect sense.
Oh, no doubt. That's what it's all about. It wasn't so much, oh, man, that was messed up. The 49ers had to go through that without a quarterback. It was, oh, no, we better make sure that our product is watchable in the fourth quarter of football games, even if a team has some disastrous outcome like that. And so smart by the league. It's something that, would have probably helped other teams. The Niners just had already had so many injuries mounting up all season long that it probably wouldn't have helped them in the NFC Championship game. But keep those games watchable. I think that is the key from the NFL in this one.
And that's the tough part with all these rules, that just protecting the quarterback. I get it because it sucks, especially when your team's on the other end of it. I remember Chris Jones sacking Derek Carr, and he sacked him. And as he's going to the ground, he pulled the ball out, and the ball was kind of in his stomach. So he's trying to corral the ball, and he lands on Derek Carr. Well, they call it roughing the passing, and that sucks. But what sucks even more is watching a game with these, second, third, fourth string quarterbacks. Like it's a terrible brand of football that nobody truly wants to watch. So it is very frustrating with the rules and protecting the quarterbacks, etc. But man, it is trash watching a game where, oh man, I'm excited at the beginning of the season. It's the Chiefs versus the Bengals on Christmas Day. Then you get to Christmas Day and it's Eric Crocker and Brian Peacock playing quarterback. Like nobody wants to watch that.
I'd pay to watch that.
There's a few thousand people that I think would love that, and I think everybody else in the world would be like, "What the hell is this?"
This guy.
Okay, more on. It's funny because the NFL's in this spot right now where it's like, okay, the almighty dollar here, player safety here.
Yeah,
we got to look at this, but then this is important too. And so that's where the Thursday, the two Thursday night games, the Thursday night flex. Now I want to talk about some of these rules. Croc, do you have something else?
Well, my coach, right? He used to always tell us that we are student athletes. So if you're on YouTube right now, you can see me. He says student first, but he holds up the number 2. Then he says athlete second, but holds up the number 1. So student athletes. Yes, you are a student athlete, but football comes first. And I think that's where the NFL is, where it's like money or
player safety.
safety
and money.
Yeah,
exactly. Yep, safety, money in the NFL. All right, that's fantastic stuff. Thursday nights, can we end the speculation finally of Tom Brady becoming a San Francisco 49er now that he might be creeping into the ownership ranks of the NFL next? Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Make a fast break to FanDuel during the NBA playoffs because right now, new customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. And also right now in the NBA playoffs, you can no longer bet on the Los Angeles Lakers. There's no better place to bet on all the playoff action than America's #1 sports book. And not just NBA playoffs. There's NHL playoffs. There's Major League Baseball all summer long, NFL futures, tons of things to bet on. And just like the NFL never sleeps, NFL betting never sleeps. So check out all of those lines and how about this one? Michael Block, what a story in PGA. He's 500 to 1. He's earning these exemptions to play more tournaments. So he's going to be in the next tourney. Is he going to make the cut this time? Is he going to win the whole thing? 500 to 1 odds on Michael Block for the PGA Tour and all the golfers that are in the field there. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. The Michael Block thing is crazy because can you imagine what that would be like in the NFL? It'd be like Crocker, someone who can play ball, but is not an NFL player currently. And through an exemption, like what if the NFL passed this rule? It's like, well, locally, whoever the best football playing podcaster is can get the 48th spot and get a uniform. Emergency cornerback, right? And all of a sudden, you're playing a playoff game. It's like, oh, man, we had injuries. We need Croc. Croc steps up, and he has that was it Larry Brown? Who was the DB for the Cowboys that had like 3 interceptions in the Super Bowl? And all of a sudden, Eric Crocker's like, hey, I can play a little bit. Get me in this certain coverage, and I'll ball out. Yeah, and the ball, little tip ball gets an interception. It'd be an amazing story, right? That's what's happening right now on the PGA Tour with a guy like Michael Block hitting the hole-in-one on the 15th when he's paired up with Rory McIlroy on Sunday. I mean, unbelievable story.
He sunk it. It didn't even hit the ground. Like, he sunk it. He made it in the hole. Swish. That was wild. It'd be like Crocker getting a pick 6. That'd be great.
Croc, what would be like? You have to. You get one play. Game's on the line. You get called into an NFL game right now. Like, what's the coverage? What is the best thing you could do on the field? Like, what coverage do you want?
Cover 2.
Cover 2? Okay. Yeah. Outside corner.
So I don't have to run vertically with a guy, but I can play outside shade, get my hands on him at the line of scrimmage, read through, and let's say it's 4th and 5, and they're running a kind of a dagger concept or like a go route by number 1 and an out by number 2, and they're thinking I'm gonna go with that outside go route so they can just hit that quick out. And maybe I play what they call there's like a trap where I know that I have somebody if he comes out, but I man turn to the guy. And as soon as I man turn, I get my eyes around to see if that out is coming, and it's coming, and I jump in and pick it off. Like that would be, for me, that's probably the only thing I could do. But that would be kind of sweet. And I'll run the quarterback. So. And
then you would house it. And
yeah. I can
play the football to the quarterback as you're going down the sideline. High step. How's that work?
So in the Arena League, there was one game I had 2 interceptions, and one of them I held the ball up in the air like I was Deion Sanders, and then I kind of tucked it and I was running and I'm making guys miss, and I'm getting tackled, and right before I hit the ground, somebody poked it out. So I won't be doing too much showboating anymore.
Smart.
Yeah, but and I actually posted it and tagged Deion Sanders, and he like,
I saw that.
Yeah, so I mean, this is years ago. He commented back on that, so that was fun. But Yeah, no, not too much showboating. I probably just run to the end zone and probably do my best impersonation of Forrest Gump and just run straight through the
done.
the tunnel. I'm out.
Just retire.
I'm running straight through the tunnel. I'm out. That's it.
Gone. Nobody ever sees Eric Crocker again. Retires from everything. He's just
Jenny. I'm around. Find Jenny.
Oh man, that's fantastic.
Croc, stop.
Hey, so do you think it's odd that the 49ers draft a 3rd round kicker and then a month later the NFL passes a rule that is going to start negating kickoffs, and now this is the rule that was approved. So NFL owners have approved a proposal to spot the ball at the 25-yard line on a fair catch of a kickoff that is not made in the end zone but inside the 25. It's a 1-year trial for now. So here's what's funny is the owners want it. Roger Goodell was pushing this. Special teams coordinators, players around the league were totally against it. They hated it, but it's happening. It passed. The owners passed it. So a kickoff that lands short of the end zone, 10-yard line, fair catch, comes out to the 25.
They've been doing this in high school and college for a couple years now. And first time I saw it, I'm like, what the heck? But if you watch a college game, like, you'll see it happen often. And I get it, player safety. But I'm always looking at the bottom of the roster guys and the guys that are only making this team because of special teams. And you're taking away one opportunity of them being kind of important right now. I think the way they should have done this, and they're getting it all wrong, and maybe they don't want to copy this league, but the XFL has it right. And I don't know if y'all have seen the XFL kickoffs, and I'm not looking at it right now, so I can't tell you the exact yardage, but the kicker kicks off from the normal kickoff area. But the coverage unit and the guys blocking line up like 5 or like 3 to 5 yards away from each other down the field. So, and they cannot move until the returner catches the ball. So you don't have these super high speed collisions from guys running 40 yards and, picking up super speed. And then boom, it's a massive collision causing, the wedges and all that and concussions and everything that goes on with that. It's a much safer way, but you still make those guys important, and you still have your kickoff, and you still can kick it off through the end zone, or but the catching it at the 5 and then getting at the 25, I think it's kind of stupid. So I get why they're doing it though.
Yeah, and it negates the idea of having a big-legged kickoff guy, because that's right. I mean, obviously making field goals is the most important part of being a field goal kicker, and some teams have punters that handle kickoff and they have the bigger leg than the kicker does. The 49ers were kind of struggling with that. I think that was part of the reason too, that they wanted a bigger legged kicker, because Robbie Gould didn't want him on kickoffs, and Wisnowski wasn't great handling kickoffs either. And so now maybe that doesn't matter at all, that who they have handling those kickoffs. So very interesting there. So in the XFL, Croc, you can't obviously do an onside kick now, but then they have the other thing that took place, the onside kick, right? Which is like the 4th and 20 or whatever it is. Is that how they do that?
4th and 15 or 4th and 20?
Yeah. Well, basically, you have
to get a first down.
Or I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's it.
You'd have to change more rules to accommodate the other things that happen on a kickoff if your coverage units and everybody wasn't right in front of you, which I don't care about. That would make kickoffs way better with the way that they do it. And I'm with you, Croc. What happens if you shank a kick and goes into the ass of your coverage unit?
Is that an onside kick?
Yeah,
as well?
I don't know. Then
I love the surprise onside kick, and this would take that away too. That would be gone. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that this move is pushing the NFL towards eliminating the kickoff altogether. I think this is their first step of just being like, look, we're going to do this. And then eventually it's just going to be like, all right, you gave up points. All right, you get the ball at the 25. Go start your offense.
They've been taking steps in that direction. I mean, remember,
this is just another big one.
Kneeling in the end zone or fair catching in the end zone, you get the ball at the 20. Now all of a sudden they moved it to the 25, to make you get rewarded for falling. You get an extra 5 yards. I just think I want to know what the XFL's onside kick rules are, because that's the part I'm missing with it.
I don't think they have it.
With the way they do it, there is no onside, but I bet they have something where it's not an onside, but it's kind of something that works in favor of or not in favor, but for someone trying to get a ball back with limited time on the clock.
I watched half of an XFL game, and it was apparently, I tweeted about it. It was like, this is awful. I can't watch this. And someone's like, oh, you picked the bad game. These are the worst two teams or something like that. And I saw some highlights, and there were some good plays from some good players, but I didn't watch a lot of XFL, so I can't give you any answers there. So I do want to hear from the listeners that were.
I got it right here.
Oh, do you have it? Okay.
Okay, so the XFL rule, it only can be in the fourth quarter, right? So it's after you score, instead of doing an onside kick, they can run an offensive play from their own 25-yard line, and they have to get 15 yards in order to continue, or the ball goes over. Their onside kicks are not allowed.
And so then the other team gets the ball there, or they get it at the other
wherever
team?
You miss it, the other team gets the ball.
So they would have it right there, and they'd be in the red zone, basically. Okay.
Exactly. So it's very risky. Me too. I love it.
Just there's no surprise on side kicks.
Yeah, just no surprise.
Which I love as well. You just don't see those very often, though.
Special teams has become so boring, though. There's hardly any, and maybe I'm wrong on that. I haven't seen the numbers, but I'm guessing there's so many fewer big returns than there used to be. It's not exciting anyway. So if they did away with it completely, the punts and the kicks is like, it's not bringing anything to the table right now anyway. So you might as well.
So here's a question for you guys. Yeah. So let's say they get rid of the onside kick or just the kickoff in general. So you do have guys on your roster that are there who beat out another guy on the roster because they can play better special teams. So the guy that they beat out may be a faster wide receiver or, a better running back, this and that. And now they're not getting to play. So if they get rid of kickoffs, does this make offense better, right? Does this make it so that you can have a gadget player here or there that can't play on special teams, and now you've actually improved your product by taking away the kickoff?
Well, I think that it just puts more emphasis on the punt coverage. But yeah, if you're telling me, hey, there is no kickoff or kickoff return, so I don't really need somebody that's super well versed, but can I just have somebody that can just run down as a gunner on punt or protect on punt? Right. And now I think it just kind of shrinks what you need someone to do. And heck, I can have Jimmy Ward go out and be a gunner, or I can have, not Dante Pettis, but, just a random receiver. All right, just go be a gunner, because this is the only time I need you to be good, as opposed to I need you to be good on punt coverage. I need you to be good on, punt return. I need you to be good on kickoffs. I need you to be good on kickoff returns. And that's the whole value. No, I just need you to be good on punt coverage. And I think that maybe helps someone that might be more of a specialty type player where it's like, well, I'm only really like a Kendrick Bourne.
There you go.
And yeah, it's like, let's be honest, when you're at home watching a game or when you're in the stadium, that's go get a beer time when they're kicking off. It's like nothing's going to happen because nothing ever happens. So why am I worried about this? I'll take my time to get ready for the real action that happens on first down from the 25.
And you got a commercial coming right after that, so this is perfect.
Right. You know how much time you have. It buys you that extra little bit. If you need to double up, maybe you got to pee and get a beer. Then you got to take that extra time, right? So
right.
Goodbye, kicking unit. How about Tom Brady? A little piece of the. Does he just want to be an owner of the team that Jimmy Garoppolo plays quarterback for, so he can cut him? Is that what's going on with Tom Brady? Ownership of the Las Vegas Raiders. Can we end finally to talk about maybe Tom Brady coming home and playing one more season with the San Francisco 49ers and the Thursday night flex next? Thanks, everybody, for making Locked On 49ers your first listen every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you find your podcast. Shout out to the everydayers. And if you're looking for more, make sure you check out the Peacock and Williamson NFL show daily right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Myself and former NFL scout Matt Williamson breaking down the entire league every single day. Okay, guys. Interesting. Let's finish the rules portion of this up. And the NFL owners approved a modified proposal for flexing Thursday night football games. So this is only restricted to weeks 13 to 17. So end of season games, a maximum of 2 flexes per season in those weeks 13 to 17. And they require a 28-day notice. So 4 weeks notice before one of these games can be flexed. So that's really interesting. That means if you're talking week 13, that means the determination has to happen by week 9. So halfway through the season, basically, the league is going to look at these teams and say, okay, we've got these Thursday night games for this team, and they're 1-8. So let's flex these guys out. We're going to give them a month notice, and we're going to put whatever 2 better teams in there. When I first heard about the flex, I thought, oh, that's just terrible. And again, player safety versus money. And this is like the player safety thing for the kickoffs. I get that, but then this is player safety Thursday nights, never good. I feel like they should just do away with Thursday nights, period. But this one's money, right? They want better games in prime time. And if the quarterbacks get injured, they want an emergency quarterback to be able to play in instead of having no quarterback. So that's where the league's going with some of these rules here. What do you guys think about the Thursday night flex? By the way, 49ers, both of their Thursday night games are week 3 and week 12, which means they are not in the flex. And it's not like their Thanksgiving game is going to get flexed out anyway. So those games they already have on Thursday night, they're not in the window to be flexed away.
I think it sucks for the players to have to turn around and play on just such a short week. But I'm not gonna lie, I enjoy watching Thursday night football. Like I love that there's football on Thursday, then there's football on Sunday, and there's football on Monday. I'm a football junkie. I'm a football fan first and foremost. And I've talked about my time in the league, and I remember being in meetings, and Tim McDonald, who's our DB coach, he's like, yeah, when you see 11, I'm like, well, why did Julian Edelman do this? And then they call everybody by their numbers. But I'm such a fan. I know who every player is, right? So my thing was, man, the more football for me, the better. Shoes. If they told me that you play on Sunday and then there's a game on Wednesday, Eric Crocker's all for it. Now, the players won't be because that is tough. And it's a really fast turnaround. But Thursday, I feel like they can do something maybe instead of just going from Sunday to Thursday. Especially like, hey, you played away on Sunday. I think the 49ers did this one time where they had an away game on Sunday and then they had an away game on Thursday. Like, that's terrible scheduling. I think they did that in 2014. But if you could do something where before you have a Thursday night game, you have a Saturday game, I would enjoy that. So you play a Sunday, you play a Saturday, then you play a Thursday. Like, and that helps kind of give them that extra day, that travel day, rest day, and maybe guys are a little bit more ready for it. And then you have an extended mini bye before your next game.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm with you, Croc. I remember that last year, maybe it was 2 years ago, when a couple of games, COVID kind of messed them up, and then we had like a Sunday game, a Monday game, a Tuesday game, a Thursday game, a Sunday game, a Monday game. It was just like, oh my gosh, almost every day within this 8-day period had football in it. Like, it was just the best ever. Yeah. And so I get you. I'll watch a football game every single day. I don't even care who's playing.
Yeah, again, that's the dollars. Like, I'm all about it too. Like, give me a Thursday night, a Friday night, and a Saturday night game, right?
And why haven't they done the Saturday thing though? Why haven't they got that, Peacock?
Because that's the thing I don't like is for the players, Thursday obviously sucks, and then sometimes you get just bad football too because they're not going to practice, and then you get kind of just a weird game. So from the product standpoint, it's not that great. But I think Fridays, because of high school football, they don't do it. And Saturdays, because of college football, they don't do it. And then late in the season, college season's over, then they start having Saturday games. That's why they have the Saturday games really late in the season.
Do they really care though? Look what they did to the NBA.
I think it's more of a.
They don't care about the NBA.
Oh, they don't care about the NBA. I think it's more of a handshake deal. Like they're helping each other out, sort of a thing. Like, because college football could start having Sunday games, and the NFL wouldn't like that either. So like, hey, you keep Saturday, we keep Sunday, and we won't mess around. We won't have any games unless you don't have any. Then we'll play a Saturday game.
Yep. The NFL doesn't care about any other sport. Baseball, there's a World Series game on. They don't care.
But Friday's the big one. Like, move the Thursday games to Friday.
And I think it regional too, right? Like I live in Arkansas. Arkansas, there is no pro football team. So a lot of these people out here, they don't watch NFL. And they'll tell you, it's been 10 years since I watched an NFL game. Like, they just don't. So flag football, they have flag football games on Sunday because on Saturdays, hey man, they're gathered around their TVs watching the Hogs, the Arkansas Razorbacks. So I guess there's certain areas, certain people that it's like, hey, why is there NFL on right now? I don't care about that. I want to watch this college football. And me, I'm like, nah, man, give me all the NFL. Everybody talks about college football being like this better, like, college football is better than NFL. Like, no, it's not. It's terrible.
College football is awful. Like, scouting these prospects, you watch some of the schemes and some of the teams, like, what is this sport? Like, how can I scout this guy who's a 230-pound defensive lineman who's playing like this interior technique because all you're doing is spreading it out and throwing the ball within a yard of the line of scrimmage as fast as you can? Like, it's a different sport, and it's not aesthetically pleasing to watch either. It's not fun. The NFL game is just far superior to me. Like, I don't care at all about college football. The only reason I watch it is through the lens of, are these guys pro players that I'm watching right now? So I'd much rather watch cut-ups and just put on the film in January than spend my Saturdays watching college football, because I think the actual game is kind of trash.
Guys are getting blown out. I mean, it's you'll find some good games, and that's when it's exciting, right? When if it's a game and it's two big dogs and it's coming down to the wire and the way that the fans are into it, the way that just the atmosphere around it, that might be better than the NFL. But on a game-to-game, week-to-week basis, there are a lot of blowouts. There are a lot of mismatches. You could watch a game, and all of a sudden, you could just there's very little between the worst team and the best team. You're typically not really surprised. Every once in a while, you might get surprised and see a big dog lose, but it's not something that happens every week. Whereas NFL, the games are really close. Even between a good team and a bad team, it's still going to come down to like the last drive. College football, the game's over in the first quarter. All of a sudden, it's 28-0, and it's just like, all right, well, I did put a little bit of money on prize picks or something, so I guess I'll watch the rest of this.
I'll stick around.
Yeah. And I do like the, like the tournament's cool, and you get the good teams against the good teams, and you're just like, now we're talking, right? But then even some of the bowl games, there's so many bowl games, and those don't matter anymore, and like the players don't care. It's weird how like a player who's like an NFL prospect will just not play his bowl games. Like, well, wasn't the point of the whole season to get to a bowl game? It's like, oh, I'm gonna not play the bowl game now after I played half of my games meaningless during the season too, because we're playing either a team out of our division better or worse than us. So I don't know. It's just just the schemes and the way they play is, and you can't cultivate, like, think about Aaron Rodgers. He was in the league for for a decade, running an offense that's similar, and you just build this rapport with guys, and you just have this finely tuned machine that you're running on offense. Tom Brady for 20 years with the Patriots, like they know what they're doing. You only get 4 years, and maybe you only start 2 of those years in college. So you don't get that fine-tuned machine in college either. So it's about, who's the bigger recruit who's the better athlete, and which coach can like be more spread, like just like the amount of spread. And like, I don't know, it's not an aesthetically pleasing. I'm sure there's a lot of people who love college football and like it more. And there's some things to like about it, but yeah, it's not for me.
The good games are better, like just the atmosphere. But how many games do you have to get through to watch the good game?
Right.
And it's
a lot
of times more of a surprise, as opposed to NFL. Every game is typically just closer. It's a better brand of football. They're more assignment sound. You don't see the wild blown coverages typically. Now, Talanoa Hufanga, every once in a while, but you don't see a whole lot of that, right? Like the game is faster because guys are more, just mentally they're ahead. So it's more consistently a better brand of football. But again, the peak of college football, I would take that. You just don't know when you're going to get that.
Well, yeah, you're a guy like me who doesn't watch college football. I don't hide that at all. And then you tune into the national championship game, and you're like, all right, oh, this sucks. You got Georgia just blowing them out. You're like, people like this? People watch this sport?
The national championship, yeah, that's right, because TCU is a great story. It was like, oh, cool, man, then they get to the following game. It was like, well, that was,
should have had Alabama.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's the other thing. There's, with the NFL, there's, teams that are going to be consistently good, but there's still a lot of turnover. Every year there's like just these new teams and several of them fighting, for it. And a lot of times it's the teams with the best quarterback, or with the 49ers, just the best stable of just really good players. But man, college football, it can be tough. And you typically know it's going to be some SEC schools and then one other team that might find their way in.
Well, that's one of the big things about the NFL, right? Is every fan base right now is super excited. I bring up my brother often because he's a Lions fan, and it's like right now he's like, yeah, we're one of only 3 undefeated teams in 2023. And you're like, oh, I get it, because you guys won in January. Okay, all right. But he's got hope, right? And these teams have hope going into the season. They get a new quarterback. They draft a young guy. They're like, all right, we're going to turn it around right now. Like there's all that hope. But if you're a small school, or you're
what's Louisiana Tech saying right now?
Yeah, exactly. This is going to be our year? Probably not.
Yeah.
Or even some of the, what is Cal Berkeley? Like, what are they telling their players? Like, is your Super Bowl just winning the Pac-12?
Right. You're beating Stanford, I think, is all they care
you're not
about.
winning the national championship.
Right.
When's the last time they won the Pac-12?
Ooh.
I think they were the Pac-10 at that time.
They had some
Pac-8.
They've kind of
Tedford era, maybe?
I think they actually weren't bad last year.
No. There was with Goff. Did they win the Pac-12 or the Pac-10 with Goff?
I think so. There was some times I remember with the Marshawn Lynch, Deshaun Jackson, my guy Lavelle Hawkins, Robert Jordan. There was a time where they had like the best receiving corps. Matter of fact, LaVelle, Deshaun Jackson, and Robert Jordan, like that was like the best receiving corps in the nation for a year. But then their quarterback was like, I don't know, Riley or Nate Longshore or something like that. But then their running backs, and there was like Joseph Forsett, and you said what year?
2006, and they were co-champs with USC.
And
co-champs, yeah, the Tedford era, and that was after Aaron Rodgers. So who was the quarterback after Aaron Rodgers? Because Rodgers
that was the guys I just mentioned, right? That was I want to say Deshaun Jackson, Lavelle Hawkins.
Before that, 1975.
Wow.
Ouch.
Anyway, yeah, doesn't it seem like guys with the Thursday night stuff and then the 17th game in the season, doesn't seem like they're inching closer and closer to adding an 18th game and then 2 bye weeks, and then teams that way will get bye weeks after their Thursday games to kind of try to fix all of it. It's like they're kind of going incremental, but it feels like that's the way they're going, and I feel like that would be better too. I would rather see another week and another game, but give teams a bye so you never have to play the short week Thursday.
That's what
Super Bowl in March then.
Arena football league, we had 18.
Why not, dude? I don't. Like let's shorten this dead period in like June and July before training camp, and like we can put all the rules changes there, and let's lengthen the season a little bit more. Why not?
Arena Football League, we had 18 regular season games and 2 byes.
There you go.
It makes more sense.
I could just get rid of the preseason games if that's the case, right?
Look, with all the weird quarterback stuff,
you can't get rid of preseason.
Yeah. You can't. You need it.
I'm
How are you going to judge your guys?
Dude, play 6 preseason games. I don't care. I want to see the 53rd guys fight it out, you know?
Yep.
I just want, if the season goes, it's already into February, keep it through February, end the season on Groundhog Day. I don't care. More football.
Yeah, you're not getting any argument from me on more football.
Yeah. But just give more time off to rest between, right? Mm-hmm. So it's safer. We've already had so many weird quarterback conversations. I like this story about Tom Brady having a minority share potentially of the Las Vegas Raiders. It has been submitted for NFL approval, so it won't happen until spring meetings next year. So technically, he could still come back and play this year. Once he's part owner of a team, he won't be able to go play. That would be a conflict of interest if he was playing for a different team, especially. But with all the conversations around quarterback with the 49ers, I think we can put the Brady stuff finally to bed, guys. And I feel good about that.
I feel like you just opened it back up by saying he does, he could sign somewhere all year.
Couple injuries, and that conversation will come back.
Oh, you're not wrong.
So maybe it's not over until next year, till he signs
that
paperwork and becomes minority owner.
Oh, man.
All right. Anyway, we got to get out of here. Wink, thanks for jumping on with us once again here on another successful Winky Wednesday.
Yeah, my pleasure, guys.
Appreciate everybody. All the everydayers out there, make sure you're subscribed up on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. Check out Peacock and Williamson and everything else the network has to offer. Croc and I back tomorrow right here, Locked On 49ers.
See ya.
Subscribe to this video.